Hey there, and welcome to the TonalTrends Spotter Syncs blog. So I've had some feedback recently that it might be nice to feature some simpler or easier songs in the blog. When I tried to think of the easiest song I knew, the first one that came to mind was A Horse with No Name by the British band America. Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, it's one of the first songs I teach my guitar students, and one of the first songs I learned to play. I got it from some easy guitar book a million years ago, just two chords over and over again. I call them hopscotch chords, because here's all they do. They're just together, apart, together, apart. And that's the whole song, or so I thought. Turns out that, as is often the case, when you get the old magnifying glass out and pop the hood, the song wasn't as clear-cut as I thought it was. But it's still pretty graspable, so let's take a look. First of all, we're in a mode. Dun, 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 dun. The Dorian mode, E Dorian, which is like minor, but has a raised 6th scale degree. So yeah, modes. I wouldn't call them any more or less simple or easy than major or minor. They're just different, that's all. And it's just kind of fun to spot them, you know, like spotting a blue jay, you know. It's just like, oh, look, it's a blue jay. That's pretty cool, but it's like, don't call it president or anything. But yeah, moving on. The tempo's around 122. It fluctuates about 8 BPMs in 4/4 time, and it's over 4 minutes long. And I think one of the reasons the tempo fluctuates so much is because they probably didn't practice the tune a lot before recording. I mean, the band didn't even really want to record it. It was just, you know, that their producer, Ian Samwell, convinced them to cut it on the final day of recording, you know, because they had some time. I mean, the band, they thought it was kind of a corny song, you know. Sorry, Dewey, you know, it's corny. But they ended up, you know, recording it anyway. It's good they did, because, you know, shot to #1. I mean, isn't that how it's like how it always is, though, isn't it? With like your pop tunes that, you know, bands just like they fall in love with their album, and there's that one song that they were like, oh, we just kind of wrote that as a joke, and that's the single that just goes to #1. Anyways, the form of the song is intro, verse, chorus, hook, modified verse, chorus, hook, solo, verse, chorus, hook, 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 and fade off on the hook. I thought I was watching Peter Pan or something right there. A couple of interesting things in the form are the intro is pretty short, just 2 changes, and that's not that interesting, I guess, but I guess it's of note. Also, the length of the second verse, it's 2 stanzas less than the other ones, making it 6 stanzas instead of 8, so maybe he just ran out of things to talk about or something in that particular verse. I'm not sure. But yeah, oh yeah, and as far as the la-la hook goes, I mean, you could also label it like an interlude or a pre or a post something, and that would be fine too. You could even consider it to be a part of the chorus if you really want to. I don't, because, you know, it exists separately here at the end a million times. So, you know, it really is a separate thing. That's why I gave it its own letter. Onto the chords. Okay, so contrary to what I learned from the songbook, the guitar isn't in regular tuning. It's in this funky tuning that I'd never seen before that goes like this. D, E, D, G, B, and D. And that's what I call the tuning with no name. Because, like, that's just not a tuning I ever see before. It's the only time America ever uses that tuning. And it's the only time England or Japan uses it either, as far as I know. Yeah, oh, and the chords I learned from the songbook were just doing their best to supply similar sounds to what's going on here. And I think they did a really good job. But let's get a look at the actual dingers themselves. So yeah, the authentic chords and their names would be thus. You have E minor, 2 kinds of Ds. You know, minor 1, flat 7, be their types. But yeah, you finger this one, 2, 0, 2, 0, 0, 2. This D6 add 9, you finger 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, 2. This D6 sus2, you finger 0, 0, 0, 2, 0, 2. And the only difference between an add 9 and a sus2 right here really is the octave. So in case you care about that, like you're a guitar player and you're like, red flag, those are the same chord. They're not, because this 9 is actually the octave up here, and the sus comes in there, right there. So, you know, if you didn't understand that, don't worry. It's just guitar stuff. But yeah, a lot of second frets. It's like all second frets for the guitar players. Must be some kind of like secret alien code, you know, or they're using some advanced binary. You know, they don't use 0 1s, they use 0s and 2s, and it's like, you know. Anyways, Oh yeah, and by the way, if you don't know regular guitar tuning, I'll just tell you that what they changed was the bottom two strings and the top string. But I'm not sure why they changed the high E string. I mean, because if you want to play the song the way they did exactly, there's really no reason to tune the high E string different since it's fretted up back to the E that you changed it from in the first place in all three chords. See, 2, 2, 2. So I don't know if whether it messes with their like secret code, alien binary talk here or what, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, I don't know. Go figure. It's something interesting. I don't know. Oh, also there's this cool like 12-string hit that you'll hear when we do the sync. It's on the and of 2. Don't want to forget about that. I'll point that out to you when we do the spotter sync. All right, now we got to decide what happens when the bass comes in. We got to decide whether the bass notes change the chords themselves or whether they just become inversions, like I got here. And this is really hard because these chords, for lack of a better term, whether they're inversions or whatever, they're just really wishy-washy. I mean, that's right, wishy-washy. Like the kid from summer camp who can't decide what girl he has a crush on, even though everybody else in the cabin already said who they liked. I mean, it's frustrating. So, you know, they're hard to name. They're like, you know, they could be just, you could just have not name them and this would be like the chords, no name. That would solve everything. Let's just do that. Drop the mic. But, no, I'm just kidding. Let's move on. If we put F sharp in the bass, what we got is we got an F sharp minor, 11, sharp 5. And if we put the B in the bass where it goes, we got B minor 11. In this way, with the chord names, the bass line gives the changes like, you know, a 2 sound on the 5th and 6th beats, and then a 5 sound on the 7th and 8th beats of the loop. But in Dorian, you know, like you might have noticed, they're all minor. That's pretty cool. And I think this is pretty cool because 2-5-1s are probably like the most recognizable common changes in music, you could argue. But yeah, in Dorian, they just have this much different flavor, you know, especially because it's all minor, and especially when you add all the susses and 6s and 9s and adds and 11s and all that stuff, you know, that kind of neutralize the chord themselves or make them wishy-washy. You know, it just kind of gives you this flavor, a flavor with no name. Haha. But yeah, whether you go off the guitar chords and the song being, you know, 2-chord, 1 flat 7, you know, minor 1 flat 7 chord change, or a 3-chord song with the bass lines coming in here with these extra guys here, you know, either way it's fine. You could be right either way. Though if I absolutely had to choose one or the other, I go with the 2-chord option because when you play the unaltered E minor and D chord triads, it just sounds way more like the song that I'm hearing on the record than when you play the unwishy-washy-fied E minor, F sharp minor, and B minor triads. Like, let me show you what I mean. It's like la 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 la. Sounds more authentic than la 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 la. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, last, let's talk about the la-las. Speaking of la-las, most of the la-la hooks have a pickup la, but not the first one. And it's left out in a couple other places as well, and so that's kind of cool. And the characteristic raised 6th scale degree right here in Dorian, it's only kind of ghosting about in the main la-la guys. You know, he's kind of like, he kind of just falls right onto it a little bit from the flat 7. Then he gets off of it right away. But the harmonized la-las sings them a lot. Starts with them, you know, sometimes 6. And then he kind of punctuates them at the end. La, la. You know, so that gives you the real nice Dorian sound. And the la-la scale degrees right there. So that's pretty cool. All right, let's give it a sync. Show you this stuff in real time. Oh, by the way, I got the greatest hits version here. Not sure which one you got, but it's kind of interesting that the greatest hits version is 4 minutes and 9 seconds, not 4 minutes, 8 seconds. So I don't know where that extra second came in, but hopefully it's at the end. Hopefully this still lines up. Are you ready? Let's do this countdown from 3. 3, 2, 1, play. So you got E, D, other D, E, D, other D. And you can barely hear this 0 changing them from 2. You know, very similar chords here. Basically the same chord. But yeah, where they start becoming different is when you have that bass line come in. E, E, F sharp, B, B. So yeah, you could go like E, F sharp, B. You could do that too, right? Or this. And there's that 12th string. Let's listen to it again. 1, 2, and. Cool little syncopated hit. Bang. Little flavor. Here's those scale degrees. La, la, la. Here it is right here. La, la. And here's the next verse that he only sings 6 stanzas on. And that's all I have to say about that, really. Shortest sync of all time. I'm just going to stop right here because, what is that? What are we, a minute 30 into it? Yeah, that's pretty much the whole song. I mean, you know, so it's really complicated up here on the board, but when you start listening to it, it's a pretty easy song. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed looking at it through this lens. You can keep listening to it if you want to. I just don't have anything else to say about it. So, thanks for hanging out with us, Spotter Syncs blog, and stick around for the next one or go to another blog and, you know, just have a ball. All right, see ya. There were zeros and twos and zeros and twos and a 2 and a 0 and a 2. Well, I've been through the desert on a chord tuning with no name, and the chords shouldn't have names either. And la 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 la, Dorian 6, la 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 la.